Summary of the Singing Lesson by Katherine Mansfield. The singing teacher Miss Meadows is very sad when she gets to school because her fiancé Basil sent her a letter breaking off their engagement. When the science mistress asks Miss Meadows if she is cold in the cool fall weather, Miss Meadows tries to hide how unhappy she is and how much she hates the science mistress. Miss Meadows's student Mary Beasley gives her a yellow chrysanthemum at the beginning of the singing lesson, but Miss Meadows turns her down, which hurts the girls' feelings greatly. Before Miss Meadows starts to teach, she tells the girls to sing a sad fall song. She tells them to make their voices sound sad, and Miss Meadows thinks about the mean letter Basil sent her while the weather outside looks gloomy. She thought it was a surprise that they were getting married because she is 30 and feels like she is almost too old to be dating. Miss Meadows is terrified of the shame and criticism she will get at school if people find out that Basil broke off their engagement. She feels like she needs to quit her job and stay away from everyone at school so she doesn't have to deal with the science mistress and the kids when they find out what happened. Many of the girls start to cry when she asks them to sing in a sad way. Miss Meadows is pulled out of class, and the headmistress, Miss Wyatt, gives her a message from Basil. He tells her to forget his last letter and that he must have been crazy to break up with her. He also tells her that he got a hat stand. Even though this telegram is cold, Miss Meadows is overjoyed. Miss Wyatt scolds her for getting a telegram that isn't urgent bad news during the school day. When Miss Meadows gets back to her classroom, she gives the students a happy summer song to sing, and she sings it louder than any of the other students.
About the author. Katherine Mansfield was born Kathleen Beecham in New Zealand, where she was raised by a well-known English family. Much of her childhood was spent in the small country town of Karori. There, she went to school with the children of housekeepers, milkmen, and other lower-class people, just like the Burnell sisters in The Doll's House. At age 14, she went to England to finish her education at Queen's College, Harley Street. When she went back to New Zealand in 1906, she didn't like living in a small coastal town. She wanted to get away from the narrowness of her privileged upbringing and go back to London, which she saw as the intellectual and cultural center of the world. In 1908, she left New Zealand for good to become known as a writer. Once she moved to London, she met a group of artists and bohemians and started sending her writing to editors. Mansfield was successful right away. She published stories in magazines like The New Age, Rhythm, and The Blue Review. In 1911, she also released her first collection of short stories, In a German Pension. Only after her younger brother died in the war in 1915 was she inspired to write about New Zealand. She wrote about her childhood in many of her best-known stories, like Prelude and The Garden Party. In 1917, she was identified with tuberculosis. During the last years of her life, she spent a lot of time traveling in search of healthier climates and writing a lot as a last-ditch effort to say everything she wanted to say before she died. She wrote the most in her last few years. Before she died at the age of 34, she finished more than 40 stories and started several more that she never finished. John Middleton Murray, her husband, was an editor and reviewer. After she died, he put out The Dove's Nest, 1923, and Something Childish, 1924, which had many of her stories. Mansfield's work helped to shape the way short stories are written in English. She is still known as a master of writing with exact feeling and psychological depth.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.